She was a mother, a mentor, a woman whose smile could disarm even the most troubled student. Nicole Porciello, also known as Nicole Hasselman, was the kind of person who lit up a room without trying. She poured herself into helping others, whether it was through her work in student support at Templeton Secondary or raising her young son with unwavering love. So when she was found dying in a ditch beside a crashed SUV on a quiet Canadian highway, stabbed 47 times, no one could understand how someone so full of life could meet such a gruesome end. It seemed at first like a tragic accident, a late-night collision, maybe a car gone off the road. But as investigators looked deeper, the truth unraveled into something far darker. A relationship built on control and manipulation, a breakup that spiraled into obsession, and a man whose love turned into something far more sinister. This wasn't just a car crash. It was a staged scene to cover up a cold-blooded murder. And the killer? He was someone Nicole had once trusted with her heart. Welcome. This is Crime Uncovered, where every case has a story, and the truth is often stranger and darker than fiction. If you haven't subscribed yet, kindly do so to stay updated on the latest crimes we uncover. Nicole Porciello, also known as Nicole Hasselman, was more than just a name on a staff directory. She was a compassionate soul who poured her heart into her work as a special education assistant at Templeton Secondary School in Vancouver, British Columbia. To her colleagues, she wasn't just a coworker. She was the pulse of their support system. To her students, especially those navigating learning difficulties or emotional trauma, she was a lifeline. Nicole had a gift. She could walk into chaos and bring calm. Her quiet patience and unwavering belief in her students transformed lives. At home, she carried that same warmth into motherhood. Nicole's 10-year-old son was her world. Every decision she made, every sacrifice, every ounce of strength she mustered, it was all for him. Despite the juggling act between career and parenting, she never dropped the ball. Friends often said she had a way of making everyone feel safe, seen, and valued. She was a nurturer, a peacemaker, a dreamer, and she deserved the same kindness she so freely gave to others. But love, as Nicole learned, isn't always gentle. Her relationship with Jan Poepl began like most love stories, with hope. Jan was charming, attentive, and seemed to genuinely care. For a time, they built a life that looked stable from the outside. Dinners, shared laughter, even dreams of the future. It was the kind of relationship most people of their age would dream to have. Jan at first was everything Nicole wanted. They were loving couples who had each other's back and understood themselves, but as the saying always goes, good things never last. Sometimes the beautiful dream one can turn out to become a nightmare. Behind closed doors, cracks began to form, hairline fractures that would soon become deep, violent ruptures. Jan's affection gave way to possessiveness. Nicole, being an understanding lady, felt Jan was being protective and caring of her. But things weren't as they seemed. Slowly, at first, subtle comments about who she spent time with, veiled criticisms about how she dressed, checking her phone under the pretense of concern. Over time, the control intensified. He isolated her from loved ones, cut her off from friends, and monitored her online interactions. Jan became jealous, angry, and unpredictable. He started to feel like someone was going to take Nicole from him. He watched every one of her movements and made sure he cut her out from not just friends but family. The man Nicole had once trusted transformed into a looming shadow, always watching, always judging. The emotional abuse escalated, and Nicole, despite the fear, found the courage to leave. More than once, she ended the relationship. But Jan always returned, apologetic, promising to change. He said the right things. He cried. He begged. And like so many women desperate to believe love can be healed, Nicole gave him another chance. Again and again, even when Jan became very violent as to laying hands on her. As time went by, it became more like Nicole was being held captive, both physically and emotionally. Such a situation can be very traumatic even with the most understanding person. No one wishes to live such a life where you have no freedom and are forced to live in fear and isolation. But in the weeks leading up to her death, something changed. Nicole seemed resolute. On November 7, 2018, 9 days before the tragedy. She ended the relationship again, this time for good. She was firm. She had had enough. Her son deserved peace. She deserved peace. Jan didn't take it well. He spiraled into obsession, parked his car outside her home for hours, watched her from the street. He sent disturbing messages and, more chillingly, shared inappropriate images of Nicole. An act of cruelty designed to humiliate and regain control, and perhaps to make her more docile and scared to leave him. His behavior became more erratic, more volatile. And still, Nicole tried to move forward. She was focused on her son, her work, and building a new life free from the cycle of abuse. But Jan Poepl wasn't ready to let her go. And in just a few days, his jealousy would explode into a horror that no one saw coming. On the evening of November 16, 2018, Nicole Porciello, a dedicated special education assistant and loving mother, was picked up by her ex-boyfriend, Jan Poepl, in a rental vehicle. Her 10-year-old son was at hockey practice, providing a brief window during which Jan convinced Nicole to meet. What transpired next was a calculated and brutal act of violence that would shock the community. Inside the confines of the vehicle, Jan attacked Nicole with 2 kitchen knives, stabbing her 47 times. Instead of seeking medical assistance, he recorded a video of Nicole as she lay dying, expressing his anger and blaming her for the situation. In the video, Jan accused Nicole of disrespecting him, showcasing a disturbing lack of remorse. After the attack, Jan returned home, leaving Nicole in the car for approximately 2 hours. During this time, he sent emails, including one resigning from his job, and made online purchases. Upon returning to the vehicle and finding Nicole still alive, he entered the car, and when he slammed his foot on the accelerator and smashed into a streetlight at high speed, Nicole, who was not wearing a seatbelt, went flying out. He may not have imagined the worst-case scenario. He may have just wanted to close the evidence that would implicate him by ending Nicole's life. But fate has a way of repaying evil. Who knows? If he hadn't been trapped in that well-planned but failed accident, he may have escaped the aftermath. Emergency responders arrived at the scene to find Jan injured in the vehicle. They tried to help him out with the thought it was a natural accident. Unknowingly to them, it was an act orchestrated by Jan to cover up his evil act. One of the officers later found Nicole lying in a nearby ditch unresponsive. She was transported to the hospital but succumbed to her injuries. The autopsy revealed multiple stab wounds, confirming the severity of the attack. This heinous act not only ended Nicole's life but also left a lasting impact on her family, friends, and the community she served. Following the tragic events of November 16, 2018, the initial assessment by emergency responders was that Nicole Porciello's injuries resulted from a car accident. She was found unresponsive in a ditch near the crash site on Barnet Highway in Burnaby, while her ex-boyfriend, Jan Poepl, was discovered injured inside the vehicle. However, upon closer examination at the hospital, medical professionals identified multiple stab wounds on Nicole's body, prompting a shift in the investigation's direction. The autopsy revealed that Nicole had suffered 47 stab wounds inflicted by 2 different knives. Notably, there were no defensive wounds on her hands or arms, suggesting that the attack was sudden and that she had little to no opportunity to defend herself. This evidence indicated a deliberate and premeditated act of violence rather than injuries sustained from a vehicular accident. Investigators turned their attention to Jan Poepl, whose behavior raised suspicions. He claimed that Nicole's injuries were the result of the car crash, but inconsistencies in his account, coupled with the forensic evidence, contradicted his statements. Further scrutiny led to the discovery of a video on Jan's phone, recorded shortly after the stabbing, in which he blamed Nicole for disrespecting him. This video provided crucial insight into his mindset and further implicated him in the crime. 13 days after Nicole's death, on November 29, 2018, Jan Poepl was arrested and charged with second-degree murder. The evidence collected during the investigation, including the autopsy findings and the incriminating video, played a pivotal role in establishing the premeditated nature of the crime and led to his conviction. In February 2021, Jan Poepl pleaded guilty to the second-degree murder of his ex-girlfriend, Nicole Porciello, also known as Nicole Hasselman. The court proceedings unveiled the harrowing details of the crime, including a video Poepl recorded in which he blamed Nicole for the situation and exhibited a disturbing lack of remorse. During the sentencing hearing, Nicole's family delivered emotional victim impact statements, expressing their profound grief and the devastating loss they endured. Her father, Giuseppe Porciello, stated, "He didn't just kill my daughter, he killed my entire family." Nicole's sister Carmine said people deserved the maximum of 25 years without parole. Her cousin Gina Iuliano added, "If we want to remember Nicole, we want to remember her with the love and brightness that she brought into every room that she walked into. We have somebody who is not even 40 years old who, in the worst-case scenario, could be out when he's 50 or 55, she said. That is unacceptable. We can't have people like this walking our streets. We can't have precedent like this, showing that a vicious crime has a sentence so low that it makes it easy for anyone to do this crime." The judge described Poepl's actions as callous, cruel, and self-absorbed, sentencing him to life in prison with no eligibility for parole for 15 years. Despite the life sentence, Nicole's family felt the punishment did not reflect the severity of the crime, expressing concerns about the possibility of Poepl's release after 15 years. They emphasized the need for a justice system that adequately addresses such heinous acts and protects the community from potential future harm. In the wake of Nicole Porciello's tragic death, the Burnaby community was enveloped in profound grief. Her family, friends, colleagues, and students mourned the loss of a woman remembered for her warmth, dedication, and unwavering support for others. Nicole's father, Giuseppe Porciello, expressed that the loss of his daughter had devastated the entire family. Colleagues at Templeton Secondary School recalled her as a dedicated educator who brought joy and support to those around her. Determined to honor Nicole's memory and advocate for justice, her family and friends launched a social media campaign ahead of Jan Poepl's sentencing hearing. The campaign aimed to raise awareness about domestic violence and the importance of recognizing warning signs in relationships. They hoped that by sharing Nicole's story, they could prevent similar tragedies and ensure that her legacy would inspire change. The community's response was overwhelming. Vigils were held, and messages of support poured in from across the country. Nicole's story resonated with many, highlighting the urgent need for societal change and greater protections for victims of domestic violence. Through their collective efforts, Nicole's loved ones transformed their grief into a powerful movement, ensuring that her light would continue to shine and guide others towards hope and healing. Every victim deserves their story told. If you found this case as chilling as we did, subscribe to Crime Uncovered and help keep their memory alive. Until next time, keep questioning everything.